Hello students, this is Shweta Roy. This video is for Chapter 4, Part 1, History, the Mughal Empire. In this video, we are going to discuss about Mughals. In this we have Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, and then we will discuss about succession in Mughal Empire and Mughal relations with other rulers. So these are some of the topics which we are going to discuss in this video. We have already studied about the last ruler of Delhi Sultanate, Ibrahim Lodi, in our previous chapter. Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Babur in the first battle of Panipat in AD 1526. Now, with the victory of Babur, the foundation of Mughal rule in India was laid. According to Dr. Tripathi, Babur combined the vigor and hardihood of the Turks and Mongols with the dash and courage of the Persians. Now we will discuss about the Mughals. The Mughals were the descendants of two great dynasties. Now when we take their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan. And as per their father's side, they were successors of Amir Timur. We have already studied about Genghis Khan and Amir Timur in our previous chapters. But the Mughals felt proud of their Timurid ancestry only. Each Mughal ruler got a picture made of Timur and himself. Here, through the chart also, you can understand the Babur's ancestors. From mother side, Genghis Khan, and then Yunus Khan, and then Kutluk Nigar Khanum, who was mother of Babur. And from father's side, you can see Amir Timur, then Miransa Mirza, then Sultan Muhammad Mirza, then Sultan Abu Saeed Mirza, and at last you have the father of Babur, Umar Sheikh Mirza. So Babur was a son of Umar Sheikh Mirza and Kutluk Nigar Khanum. You can see a miniature painting of Timur and other ancestors of Babur. Now we will discuss about Babur, who ruled from AD 1526 to 1530. The full name of Babur was Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. He ascended the throne of Fargana in AD 1494 when his father died accidentally. Now this Fargana was a small principality in Central Asia. He succeeded his father when he was of age of 12 years. Now to expand his empire, he invaded India 5 times. And in the 5th expedition, he defeated Ibrahim Lodi in AD 1526. But the decisive battle, which was actually found between Babur and Rana Sanga on 16 March 1527 at village Kanwa near Agra. This Rana Sanga was the king of Mewar, and he was greatest Rajput king of that period. Now in this battle, Rana Sanga was defeated. Now in AD 1528, Babur defeated the Rajputs at Chanderi after becoming the master of North India. And like this, he established his control over Punjab, Delhi and Ganga plains as far as Bihar. He died in AD 1530. He was a brilliant military general, and with that he was also a poet, a writer with an excellent style in Turkish. So he wrote his autobiography Tujke Babri or Baburnama in his mother tongue Turkish. Then we have Humayun, AD 1530 to 1556. So after the death of Babur, Humayun, who was the eldest son of Babur, became the king. But according to the will of the Babur, who was his father, he gave each of his brothers a province. Humayun succeeded in conquering the provinces of Gujarat and Malwa, but he was defeated by Sher Shah Suri at Chausa in AD 1539 and Kannauj in 1540. And after these defeats, the Mughal Empire in India temporarily ended, and Humayun had to spend nearly 15 years in exile in Persia, which is in Iran. So he actually went to Iran, Persia for 15 years after defeated by Sher Shah Suri. Now this Sher Shah, his successors were weak and inefficient. So Humayun saw an opportunity to get back to the throne of Delhi. So in Iran, Humayun received help from Safavid king of Persia, and in AD 1555 he recaptured Delhi and Agra. But after recapturing this Delhi and Agra, in next year he died as a result of a fall from the stairs of his library. So Humayun was an able soldier, but he was a poor general. He lacked political wisdom and military foresight. He also suffered from indecisiveness. His political calculations were short-sighted and defective. Then came Akbar, AD 1556 to 1605. So after the death of Humayun, Akbar, who was his son, acceded the throne, and that time the age of Akbar was 13 years. Now Bairam Khan was appointed the regent of the young kings, and during this time his position in India was not strong. So AD 1556, the second battle of Panipat was fought between the Afghan ruler Hemu Vikramaditya and Bairam Khan, in which Hemu was defeated, and this gave Delhi and Agra back to Akbar. And now Agra became the capital of Mughal Empire. Now in AD 1560, Akbar took over the reign from Bairam Khan. For the rest 40 years of his reign, Akbar adopted a policy of conquest and consolidation of the empire. Now here we have some important informations. Sur dynasty, which ruled from AD 1540 to 1555, and during AD 1540 to 1555, Sher Shah Suri's family, known as Sur dynasty, ruled over North India. Sher Shah Suri, who ruled from 1540 to 1545, conquered Malwa, Rajputana, Multan, Sindh and Punjab during a short period of his reign. And he actually died in an accidental explosion of gunpowder in AD 1545. He is remembered as one of the ablest rulers of medieval India. And his system of administration was followed by Akbar. He restored the Grand Trunk Road, GT Road, which was built during the Mauryan period, which runs from Kolkata to Peshawar. And within 10 years of his death, Humayun recaptured Delhi and Agra. You can see tomb of Sher Shah Suri in the picture. Now to strengthen his position, Akbar adopted a policy of matrimonial alliance with Rajputs. And like this, he conquered Jaunpur, Gwalior, Ajmer, Malwa, Kashmir, Sindh, Odisha and Bengal. And after that, he died in AD 1605. Akbar is remembered for his secular image. His empire was based on the principles of religious tolerance, universal brotherhood and political unity. According to Hay, Akbar was unquestionably the greatest of all rulers of India of the Muslim period. Then we have Jahangir, AD 1605 to 1627. Now Jahangir was son of Akbar, and Akbar was succeeded by Jahangir. Jahangir's childhood name was Salim, and he had inherited a kingdom that was among the largest, most prosperous and perhaps the best organized in the medieval world. Now military campaigns started by Akbar were continued by Jahangir, and he conquered Kangra and Mewar. And like this, he fulfilled Akbar's unrealized imperial dreams. But the areas of Kandahar in Afghanistan was lost to the Persians. In AD 1611, Jahangir married Noor Jahan. She was a beautiful and intelligent woman. Also, Jahangir used to take advice from her on everything that was important. Jahangir was fairly successful as a ruler, and he continued the sound and administrative system and policies of Akbar. Also, he was great lover of justice, but he did not possess the genuine and vision of Akbar. So he did not introduce any important reforms. Whatever Akbar has implemented, he just continued with that. He has not implemented anything new. Then we have Shah Jahan, AD 1627 to 1658. Prince Khurram was crowned as the emperor, who was Shah Jahan, in AD 1627. And the first thing which happened, which he faced, was revolts in Bundelkhand and the Deccan. He conquered the Bundelkhand without too much trouble, and there were three important states in Deccan: Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda. So in 1632, Ahmednagar was finally annexed to the Mughals. Bijapur and Golconda were forced to acknowledge Shah Jahan as overlord. So in 1657 to 1558, there was a battle of succession among his sons, which was won by Aurangzeb. And he killed his three brothers and kept his father a prisoner for the rest of his life. Now Shah Jahan died in AD 1666. Now Shah Jahan's reign is remembered for his architectural activities. Peacock throne and the Kohinoor diamond. Actually, he is known as the engineer king of his excellent architectural activities. Also, he built the world famous Taj Mahal and Moti Masjid at Agra, and Red Fort and Jama Masjid in Delhi. Then we have Aurangzeb, AD 1658 to 1707. So Aurangzeb ascended the throne in AD 1658 after a bloody war of succession. And during his reign, the Mughal Empire expanded to the largest single state India had ever known. So by the end of the 17th century AD, it stretched from Kashmir in the north to Karnataka in the south, and from Hindu Kush in the west to Chittagong in the east. So Aurangzeb's whole reign of about 50 years was devoted to ceaseless wars in different parts of India. In AD 1663, he defeated the Ahoms in the northeast. During the first half of his reign, he dealt directly with North Indian affairs. But during the second half of his reign, he tried to crush the growing power of the Marathas in the Deccan. Bijapur was annexed in AD 1685 and Golconda in 1687, and he died in AD 1707. So he was having several outstanding qualities like courage, patience, vitality, and perseverance, but he was short-sighted. He gave up Akbar's policies of religious tolerance, and his policies of short-sightedness paved the way for decline of Mughal Empire. His successors were weak, inefficient, and pleasure-loving. And because of this, it led to the breakup and collapse of the empire and advent of Britishers who ruled India for nearly 200 years. Now we have the topic succession in Mughal Empire. So the Mughals followed coercionary rule of inheritance, which means division of inheritance amongst all the sons. And because of this, they did not believe in the primogeniture rule of succession. It is a system of inheritance in which the eldest son inherits his father's estate. So this was not in the Mughal Empire. They actually was dividing the inheritance among all the sons. Then we have the topic Mughal relations with other rulers. Now when Mughals became powerful, many other rulers joined them voluntarily. In order to strengthen their position, the Mughals, especially Akbar and Jahangir, adopted the policy of matrimonial alliance with Rajputs. So in this, Akbar first married the daughter of Raja Bharmal of Amber, Jaipur, and after this Rajput families followed the path of matrimonial alliances with the Mughals and got high positions in the empire. Jahangir also married a Rathore princess, daughter of the Rajput king of Marwar, Jodhpur. But many Rajput kings did not accept matrimonial alliances with the Mughals. The Sisodia Rajputs did not accept the Mughal authority for a long time, and later they were defeated by the Mughals. Mughals treated them honorably and returned their lands as assignments. So lands were known as Vatan and assignments were known as Vatan Jagir. So in most of the cases, the Mughals did not humiliate their opponents after defeating them, and such a behavior of the Mughals influenced many kings and chieftains positively. I hope you all understood all the topics taught in this video. Thank you.